Welcome back to Monday Morning Mom. I'm Erin Sarles, and every Monday I read a letter from a real sports parent and I tell the truth about what you mean. So, for those that have been around and know the column Dear Abby from back in the day, maybe you're at your grandma's house and she'd have the Dear Abby column on the refrigerator. That's a vivid memory for me as a child. You'd write into Dear Abby in the newspaper and she would write you back. So I took the same concept because I loved it. Parents get to write in. I will then read the letter out loud and respond, and we'll just take it from there. So, with that being said, this comes from Loss the Thread in Tennessee. It says, Dear Erin, my daughter is a junior in high school. She has played volleyball since she was 9. It has been our life. Camps, club teams, recruiting conversations, everything. 3 weeks ago, she sat down at the kitchen table and she told me she wants to quit. I didn't handle it well. I told her she was making a mistake. I reminded her of everything we have invested, the money, the travel, the time. I told her she'd regret it. She went to her room and we haven't really talked about it since. It's been sitting between us like a wall. I know things went wrong in that conversation. I know I made it about me, but I didn't know how to go back and fix it, or whether she still means it, or honestly, whether I should fight for her to stay in it or let her go. I don't know how to be her mom in this moment. Lost the thread in Tennessee. Okay, that is such a powerful conversation. And first and foremost, I think we all have these moments where I think we don't say the right thing or do the right thing in the moment because it catches us so off guard. It's almost like we want to fix it or we want to move through it. And trust me, I am that type of person. And so I think you really named something powerful. And I think it's so important that sometimes as parents, we just listen and we don't respond. And, in that moment, I think understanding and getting curious is to why she wants to stop playing volleyball. What is bringing this up? Is there something else going on? Is there something underlying? Is she exhausted? Does she not enjoy it anymore? And to understand that as parents, like when they decide to quit and we're making investments in them, they've already grown and learned and got everything that they needed out of that moment. There's no return on investment with our kids. Like we're constantly pouring into them, not knowing when anything that we do as a parent is going to quote unquote have a return or pay us back. And so I think there's an opportunity. This really isn't about you. You already acknowledged that. You made it about you in that conversation. But I think, this isn't about you. This is about her. And she's coming to her mom in that trusting moment to open up and talk about it because you don't know what she's carrying inside. I mean, I have 2 high school athletes. It takes a lot, especially with teenagers, to get them to open up and to have the conversation. Because I'm sure, even though you said it out loud, she's already kind of carrying that weight and that burden, thinking, well, I've done this. My parents have poured a lot into this. They may not be grateful and say that all the time, but they oftentimes already know that. And so that weighs on them too. Like, how do I tell my parents that I want to quit when internally I know how much they've put into this? I know how much they've given to me. Why is that? And so I think oftentimes, I think with this conversation, we talk about quitting like it's a character flaw. And The opposite of quitting is toughness. And if we let our kids walk away from something hard, we're teaching them to be soft. But I think this is an offer for a different reframe. It's not necessarily about quitting. I think we have to get clarity. She's a 16, 17-year-old girl. She's a junior in high school. She's devoted 8 years to the sport. And there's some reason why she's saying, I don't want to do this anymore. That's not weakness. That's being honest. And, again, do you want her to be a great volleyball player, or does she want to be a great volleyball player? It has nothing to do with you as her mom. You as her mom are the unconditional loving support that's being provided to her. So whether she plays volleyball, doesn't play volleyball, that's an opportunity for you to get more curious about what's going on. Why do you feel this way? And to support her in that. What other interests are you also fostering outside of volleyball? So volleyball isn't her only identity. It's one thing that she does and she loves to do. In the moment that they're like, yeah, I just don't feel this anymore, that's okay. That is okay. So it's okay to go back and sit her down and say, I don't actually judge you and for why you want to quit. I want to understand why you want to quit, and I want to be the best support system to you to ensure that you ultimately get where you want to go. As a mom, I love you regardless of whether we've spent 8 years in volleyball and you don't want to ever do it again, or, is there something to work through that you love volleyball, but maybe you don't like a current situation. Whatever that is, your only job is to be curious, hold space, and allow her to conversate, because the more you can create that moment for her to open up, the more she's going to trust you, and you don't have to have a solution or an answer. And I think that's oftentimes we don't have to solve everything for our kids. And so I think, again, you didn't do anything wrong. I think your natural response was probably what most of our response would be. We also have lived life. We also perceive that we know what's best for our kids. It's like, I'm your mom. I know what's best for you. I see what's ahead of you, what's the potential and opportunity. But we also have to remember, foundationally, that God gave us human beings that were whole and complete from the moment that they were conceived into this world. And so our only job is not to tell them what to do, is to be their guide, to allow them to experience life, to learn the lessons, and who knows if they're what the lesson is for her. We don't know that in the moment. But what we do know is that we have to allow the space for her to learn, to grow, and to really understand what are the opportunities. And it's not failure. It is not failure if you decide you want to transition and move on and do something else. And so, number one, be gentle and kind with yourself. We're human beings as parents. We're not always saying and doing the right thing. We also role model for our kids, that ownership of like, what, I want to sit down and have a conversation with you. I didn't handle this the way that I wanted to. I want to understand why you want to quit, and I want to support you on your journey of what that means and what that looks like. And so we all have opportunities. We're going to continuously be faced with opportunities. That's why we're here, is to learn and grow. And so I just continue to invite all of you, and as parents, drop the letter, put it, like, DM me. It's always anonymous, and I will read it, answer your questions, publish it every Monday. This is an absolute pleasure, a delight. I love guiding parents and high school athletes through athletics and using athletics as a tool to grow them, whether that ends in high school, whether they move on. That doesn't matter. What matters is that we grow these young adults into incredible human beings. And so until next Monday, Continue to be an outpouring of love to your student athlete. I appreciate you. I thank you and thank you. Lost the thread in Tennessee. I think you're going to do the right thing. So please check back in with me. Let me know how this goes with your daughter. And I will see you guys all next Monday.